Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm a fourth year maths student at the University of Bristol. So during sixth form, I really quite enjoyed like the problem solving aspect of maths. So actually, before I even applied to uni, I originally wanted to do computer science. But then it was in the last year of sixth form. I was doing further maths, and I really quite enjoyed that sort of work. I really enjoyed like the problem solving aspect of it, and I just thought this is something that I'd really like to learn a bit more about. I thought I was talking to like a lot of people, and they said when you go to university, it's quite important to do something you actually enjoy. And so I thought, okay, maybe it's a better idea for me to go into maths over computer science, and I don't regret it. To enjoy
So
where I am.
when you were picking to choose maths or computer science, what were the aspects that you actually enjoyed? Where, as for the individuals who are in between, I love problem solving and I don't know which route to go down. What was the biggest differentiator when it came to choosing maths and computer science?
I think the biggest thing with maths is it's quite a versatile degree. So like as part of like my degree, I did a bit of coding, and to be honest, that was the only real driver for me to choose computer science. So I think I think maths was just a lot more broad. You can sort of pick your
Do
path
anything.
way.
You kind of have options.
Yeah, yeah, you get.
You can still do computer science if you wanted to, but with computer science, you can only really do computer science with computer science.
Yeah, I didn't want to like narrow myself down too quickly, and especially I think at that age, I personally didn't really know what I was going to do 3 4 years from now at
So you
all.
wanted as many options as possible.
Yeah,
Okay. So you're now 4 years into your course. What do you think
yeah.
of your course so far?
Yeah, it's been quite tough, but honestly, but like I said before, it was something that I really enjoyed doing at school. And I think that was the most important bit because I like enjoyed doing it before. It's something that I haven't like grown to hate, which I know a lot of people at uni don't really like their courses by the end of it. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's really diverse. You get to pick modules based on what you like. And in I think in pretty much every uni, in like your first year in maths, you get to everyone gets told what to do. Like you have to do like
Like
a
a
broad
general
range of
sense.
modules. Yeah. But then as soon because like maths is a pretty old subject, it's like thousands of years old. It's pretty it's well developed. So you get to like really tune this really quickly, which is nice. So you don't really have to do what you don't like anymore.
So while you were doing your course, what do you think the hardest and easiest modules were for those students who are looking to pick?
Again, this I think this totally depends on what like sort of maths you prefer. So I think so. I quite like doing a lot of pure maths and like probability. So I find those quite a lot bit easier because well, it's something that I like care about. So yeah, but there was like some like mechanics modules, like physics modules that when I had to do it, I wasn't really interested by it. So
So would you say that first year really helped doing everything in choosing your final decision in your second year? So for students who are going to study your course, make sure they really try everything in their first year with that general sense to really know what they want to go down, what route they want to choose to carry on while at university.
yeah, I think that's really important. Like maths at uni is really different to maths at school. Like in school, it's just you're just given a textbook. You just have to do like a bunch of questions, and it is quite boring. And I can see why a lot of people don't enjoy it. But at uni, it's more about rather than just doing questions for like for the sake of doing it. It's more about why like this bit of math works. Like yeah, so like in our exams, like we literally only have 4 questions to do in like 2 hours. So it's like so it just goes a lot more in depth, and it's more about like you trying to figure out how you'd approach this problem and like linking together loads of different parts. So because that's so different to how you do it in school, I think it is really important that you try and do as much in first year that you have like such a general spread because you actually don't know what you like, I guess, till you.
Key. And you did talk about how doing maths at university is different from doing it in school. But if you were to go back to school and best prepare yourself for maths, what subjects or A levels do you think would be best to put you in the best position?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you're gonna have to do maths A level. Yeah. A lot of unis want you to do further maths as well, but I think this is quite important because like further maths sort of like bridges the gap between school maths and uni maths. And, like further maths was literally the reason why I switched from computer science to maths because I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I think further maths is really important. But then I think any sort of problem solving A level, so like, but you can sort of do anything you want. Like I actually did a music AS, and I honestly I think just do what you want, but it's probably very important that you do maths and further maths just so you get like a bit of an understanding of what you're going to do.
So just as a general anything, but just make sure you do the maths and further maths. Not photography, but the maths is the mandatory.
Maths and further maths, yeah.
Okay.
Maths because you need it, further maths because that's like the closest you're going to experience
Do you
to
feel like
uni maths.
what you learned at A level was the same content as your first year, or do you feel like it was harder or easier?
So I'd say like the first term of uni is pretty similar to A level, like because obviously there's like loads of students from across the world and stuff. So I think like the first few weeks is trying to get everyone to like the same level of ability. Yeah, on the same page. And there's some people who didn't do that, but I think it's obviously a lot more intense. So you just taught something you don't really get a chance to in school, like try it out and do loads of questions on it. If you want to do that, you're gonna have to do that in your own time. It's not like compulsory. So I guess it's a lot more content in the
So
school.
if we now go into a university, what were the best and worst things about studying? Starting off with the worst.
The worst. I think the independence is quite horrible if you're not used to it. Obviously in school, like you got teachers who are on your case, like they'll tell you, oh, you need to do this. You get like tested regularly. And then at uni, there is no one. And so like first few months it is pretty paying, like, oh, wow, I don't really know if I'm going to be doing this, but yes, no one's really on my case, so I guess I'm all right. But yeah, when exams come around, you realize that, yeah, maybe I should have done a bit more work. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, yeah. So I think it's just the independence of not really having someone on your case and just being responsible for your own work.
What do you
Completely.
think a student can do to kind of prepare for that reality of having a teacher behind you consistently, keeping up with you, make sure you've done your homework, to a lecturer now saying, I'll see you in 4 weeks within a complete assignment?
What can they do? But I think maybe just like try learning something like outside of what you need for your A levels. So maybe not something that's really far off, but maybe it's something in the course that your teacher just mentioned that was interesting. Just like read up on it. I think it's also probably quite important to have maybe some sort of schedule with your work, or just have like some sort of system in place. Maybe like every week or every 2 weeks, you set like some targets so that you know that you're on track.
Because you've
Yeah, I
gone
think
from having everyone around you to people you know and your teachers being behind you to, now, as you said, that independence. So you're around individuals you may or may not know, and you've now got a new task in life of just learning independence. How important was friends in attacking or just figuring university out in your first couple of weeks?
no, I think friends are really important. It's like course mates would work because then we all have the same assignments, so you can see how you're doing with everyone. But I think even in general, it's really quite important to put yourself out there and make loads of friends because not just from like an academic perspective, like you are away from home, you're living alone probably for the first time. There's a lot of stuff that you might not have done before, and just having like friends there, I don't know, to give you a hand or just like come together, I don't know, like cook meals or something is like a big help. And it just like, yeah, I guess if you have like someone to compare to or someone to work with, you know if you're missing something or if you know if you're behind on something.
Okay. And now, what is the worst part of studying at Bristol?
I think the choice, you really get to choose, maybe not in your first year, but after that you really get to decide what you want to focus on. You get to actually pick subjects that you or like modules that you like, and you can basically go as far into it as you want. Like all the lecturers are really helpful. They'll give you a lot of guidance if you're unsure about where you want to go into. So I think like freedom of choice of what you're studying was pretty good.
So do you feel like once you hit that first year, you knew what you wanted to do, and now you're in second year, like this is the path I want to? So you said when you before you started university, you didn't really know what you wanted to do. By second year starting, did you have a much clearer image, or was it still kind of vague of where you wanted to finish with your university degree or what you want to do in life?
I think it was definitely clearer, but I wouldn't say it was like dead set at all. But I think as obviously
You progress.
you're in uni for long, yeah, as you progress for longer, you do get a clearer picture. But I do think I think the jump from first year to second year, that was like the biggest shift in terms of, oh, I don't know what I was going to do before. I've kind of got an idea. I'm going to look at these areas. I'm going to try and get into like this sort of job.
So it's like, as you said, it's like
Yeah.
kind of first year again, trying a bit of everything. You're like, I know I don't want to do that. I know I don't want to do that. And that's kind of clear up the path a little bit.
Yeah. I think like societies really help with that as well because there's obviously like loads of like sports societies and stuff, but at unis there's also like some career societies as well. So I mean, they don't like do weekly like lectures or anything, but if you just go to like one or two events, you get to see what like this sort of job's about. Like I turned up to like a few of their taster sessions. I don't think that really helped as well.
And from your experience, how much of society has impacted your university experience, whether positive or negative?
Me personally, I don't think I've made as much use of it, but I think that's more a Bristol thing. I think this is more like because I'm in a city uni, there's obviously a lot more to do outside of the city. But if you were in like a campus uni just in the countryside or something, I know mates who like literally depend on societies to do like social stuff. But yeah, I don't think it matters too much when you're in a city.
If we go to
Yeah.
where you were living, where did you stay in your first year?
Yeah, so I stayed in a halls of accommodation. It was just a block of flats in the city centre, but it was like a uni right halls, so that was pretty fun. I lived in this place called Unite House. It was I picked it because honestly it was quite cheap. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's nice meeting living with a bunch of people in your flat, meeting for the first time, and sort of like making that I guess like the adventure of living on your own with other people that you've never met before as well. It's quite fun. Like I'm still friends with the majority of my flatmates from first year. And our house is also right in the city centre, which is really good because you're really close to everywhere. Uni's only about 5 minutes away, but all of Bristol's a really good city because it's really quite small. I'm from Manchester. I live in Manchester normally, but Bristol's a much smaller city. But that's kind of nice when you're a student because you can walk across the whole city in about an hour, and that's sort of exactly what you need because you can explore like all the different areas quite easily.
And where did you move to in your second year?
So second year, I moved into a house with my flatmates from first year. So we all enjoyed living together. So we rented a house, and that's what I've been doing for third and fourth year as well.
And just
Yeah.
talking about the transition from going from accommodation to a house, while if we just go into the accommodation side, what were the biggest barriers when living with individuals you never met before? Although you said you had a good time and it was amazing,
Yeah.
was it always 10 out of 10, or did you have some things that you disagreed on?
Yeah, there's obviously someone's not cleaning the kitchen or someone else's turn to take out rubbish or something. But I think I was quite lucky because I do know quite a lot of horror stories. But the accommodation that I was in before we started, they sent out this questionnaire, and it just you had to rank how clean you were on a scale of 1 to 5, like how social, how often do you want to go out, that sort of thing. So I think the accommodation was quite helpful in trying to put you together with people who were similar to you. So you won't get if someone doesn't, yeah, you won't get annoyed if your flatmates are too loud.
So then now we're moving to a house. What was that transition like going from living in accommodation? Obviously, the way accommodation works, you do 3 installments, everything's unlimited. You share
Yeah.
a kitchen, you have your own toilet, have your own bathroom. Now you're going to a house where the rent's separate. I'm assuming you share a toilet and bathroom with your flatmates, and your rooms may or may not be as big. What was that transition like?
Yeah, so I think if you are moving into a house, it's probably quite important that you know who you're living with before, because it is a lot more intimate than flats. Like what you were saying, you don't have your own bathroom, and it's a lot more open. So I think it's quite important to know your flatmates quite well. It's also quite a challenge because then you got organize your heating bills, your energy bills, like Wi-Fi and all of that. But I think it's a nice little step up into adulthood, which is obviously something that you're here at uni to do anyway. Yeah.
And what was the difference in difficulties where in the accommodations of cleanliness, did you face any new difficulties? Well, you talked about paying the bills. Were there any other difficulties you faced when moving into the house, except for obviously everyone keeping clean, having a schedule and the bills?
Yeah, so sometimes there's friction between housemates. If one of your housemates is just always cold, so they want the heating on 24/7. Obviously, you don't want to spend too much money for heating the house every day. But yeah, so I think it's just living with people you like, and just ensuring there's communication. You don't want your house to be split up into rivalries. So I know some houses where that have happened, and then it's just been a horrible toxic situation, to be honest.
If we now go into Bristol area, you briefly mentioned you can walk across the city within an hour. There's loads of stuff to do. So many options to the fact you don't even have time to even do societies because you're doing different things. What is it like living in the Bristol area as a student?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love it here. It's like I say, it's quite a small city, but it's not it's not a town. So there's still loads of things to do. It's quite a young city as well, which I think is quite good for students. Everyone here is young. They're all ready to do stuff. There's a lot of social stuff happening. Loads of bars, clubs, lots of green spaces, and there's there's Harborside. It's all pretty nice. It is pretty expensive, maybe not London expensive, but I think it's probably getting there.
What
Yeah.
is the nightlife like?
Yeah, it's pretty good. So there are student nightclub areas, which is nice, but there's also the actual city centre nightlife as well. It's pretty good. Bristol's pretty heavy on the drum and bass scene. So if you're into that music, Bristol's definitely the place for you. But it's also got indie, hip hop, R&B, everything. So and lots of live music as well. So and yeah, there's a lot of pop-up raves and gigs that happen all over the city, which is quite nice. So yeah, I think it's a really big city in terms of nightlife and just that sort of stuff happening.
And as your everyday student, to get your groceries, to maybe get some miscellaneous things, what's that like? Is there a lot of accessibility when it comes to the different shopping malls, or are you kind of restricted with what you have access to?
Yeah, Bristol is pretty bad in terms of that. There is like an Aldi, but it's like on the other side of town. Like all the Aldis and Lidls are really far from where all the students live, which is a bit annoying. What me and my house have actually done this year is we got an Asda premium subscription, which is I think it costs us like £4 each for the whole year. But then it means that we can get a free delivery on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every week. So I mean that pretty much sorts us. Like we just add whatever we need. We literally all got it on our phones, so we can just add it on the app and then just get it delivered as like a collective. And then we got a Splitwise as well. Well, I think a Splitwise is pretty useful just in general for anyone at uni, just because you're not going to be splitting costs individually and you get parts of that sort of stuff.
Can you explain what Splitwise is?
Yeah, sorry, it's an app. So you just create like a group, it can be like your house or your group of mates, and say like if you buy like something for everyone in your house, you go out for a meal and you pay for it all, then you can just chuck it on the app and it just basically adds up. Yeah, you don't need to pay it like as soon as it happens. It just keeps track and eventually stuff cancels out after a while and that's pretty good.
So is it like you say if you had a £20 note, if there's five of you, like an Uber for example, they could put it in the chat and you each pay the £4, £4.
Yeah, you don't have to pay like instantly. I mean, just sort of adds it up and then you can sort it out. We normally do it like at the end of every month or something, but
okay.
Yeah.
If you were going to talk to A-level students about to come to university, what general advice would you give them?
I think definitely put yourself out there. It is obviously quite daunting. Well, most people go to a new city or a new town from where they are at home. And I guess it might be quite tempting to just stay inside because you don't really know anyone. But I think it is really important that you put yourself out there, try and meet as many people as you can. Also, like brush up on your like housework skills as well, like cook some stuff because it's going to get pretty bad if you can't.
What advice would you give students about to study at Bristol University?
Bristol specifically. Bristol is actually a pretty hilly place, maybe up your fitness a bit. Yeah. But I think it's sort of the same in terms of putting yourself out there. Because it's not a campus uni, I think it's even more important that you put yourself out there because you're not like forced to be together in a group. So unless you make that effort, you might not be able to meet as many people as you could have. So yeah, I think it's just really about trying to put yourself in as many situations as you can and try and meet as just try and meet as many different sorts of people as you can.
And what advice would you give to students about to study your course at university?
My course, I guess just like I said, in first year, everyone has to do like the same thing. So I guess just like lose your preconceptions about what you think like a subject or like this part of maths is going to be about. Just like enter everything in first year respectively with like your eyes open, just see what it's about. I think for maths specifically, it's quite important to stay on top of the content because it is a lot that gets thrown at you quite quickly. And yeah, just make sure that you don't fall too far behind and just like be curious about everything because you honestly don't know what you like till you start it.
Okay. So when choosing, as you said a bit earlier, you didn't really know where you wanted to end up in terms of career-wise when choosing whether to go to university. But you did have the option to do an apprenticeship and or go right into work. What path you to make the choice of university?
Yeah, I did seriously consider doing an apprenticeship in like computer science, but I think it was just more about curiosity. I really did enjoy maths, and I thought if I was to do an apprenticeship, then again, it's just like narrowing down really quickly. And I think it'd be even harder to switch career paths after. So I think it was more about keeping my options broad. But I think if you know what you want to do early on, I would have done an apprenticeship if I did, and I think you definitely should if you know what you're going to go into. But if you're still unsure, I'd definitely recommend you.
If you knew what you know today, would you have chosen an apprenticeship or still chosen university as a path?
No, I'd have definitely still chosen uni as a path. I think more than that, it's just a place where you grow up. I guess there's a lot of stuff that's happened at uni that I don't think I'd do if I was on an apprenticeship. I think I'm like a very different person than I was in first year. So I think it's helped not just me see what I want to do in my career, but it's helped me like grow as a person as well. And also it's introduced me to a way broader range of people than I would have met otherwise. So I think that's also been really helpful and beneficial.
Okay. What was life like as a multi-asset analyst at the Bristol Investment Fund?
Yeah, so this was one of those career societies that I tried out in first year. It was pretty good. It was like an investment fund, like a fake investment fund run by some students. So I was in the multi-asset team, which basically means we can invest in like stocks, bonds, commodities, everything. So it was quite good. So in the first few weeks, we had like little training sessions just to understand a bit more about the industry. And then we had to run like a virtual portfolio as a team, which is quite a good learning experience. It's obviously something I wouldn't have done as part of my degree. So, and also like there was some social events happening, and we also got to present ideas to other teams as well. So yeah, I think it was really beneficial in helping me see if this is the sort of stuff I wanted to go into. Unfortunately, it isn't what I wanted to go into, but I think that experience was definitely quite helpful in understanding that. Yeah, I think with maths especially, everyone gets these ideas that, oh yeah, I'm gonna go into finance, become like just start like a hedge fund or something. But yeah, that wasn't for me.
So would you say that kind of helped you in the same way your course did, in that general sense of, exactly that wasn't for me? That
Yeah,
I tried that. I mean, I liked it, but it didn't tickle my fancy.
yeah, exactly. I tried it out. I did learn a lot of things that I used in the future, but yeah, it was just about trying something out, realizing I didn't want it. So I guess I never have like that what if in my mind, which is pretty good.
So I'm assuming your experience with a fixed income analyst was a different project with the same society.
It was a slightly different society, but it was again just in that finance route. In first year, I had like, I don't know, I just wanted to be like an investment sort of thing. But yeah, I was trying out all of these different societies, realized it wasn't really what I wanted to do. But yeah, it was different sort of job in a similar field. So I guess it wasn't that varied in terms of choices.
And what was it like at is it McKinsey Solve It?
Yeah, so that was actually a contest. It was like a competition. So like McKinsey is a consulting company, and so they came to our uni and said you can join these teams, and basically you just have to do like some consulting work for a charity. So I think that was really useful. I'm sort of going into that sort of field now. So I just had a team with some uni friends, and we just took part in that contest. And I think that was a really useful experience.
And what would you say the biggest skill and or takeaway you got from it?
I think it was mostly just exposure to the industry. So in that contest specifically, you got paired up with someone who actually worked at the company. And so you had like little mentoring sessions with the team. They'd like taught you about the industry. They taught you about how they do things, how they approach like these problems and consulting case studies. And yeah, I think it's just the education, because I don't think I would have got that anywhere else at uni in terms of actually working with a real company in a field that is not like typically associated with my degree.
Okay. What was life like at PwC as a summer intern?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I thought it'd be nice to do an internship over summer, just actually try working out in a company, and I actually really enjoyed it. I'm going to be working there next year as well. So yes, PwC was great. They had like a little training for a few days, but then I was basically put directly into actual work for the company. I got to work I was put inside a team and I worked alongside other people, had like a buddy and mentor, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And it's something that I'm going to continue doing.
What would you say the aspects, except obviously you said you got paid with a buddy, you got a lot of training, but what was it about PwC specifically that makes you want to go again? What aspects of the company, the culture, the equipment, the access, what about PwC do you enjoy that makes you want to go again?
Yeah, they're really big about learning. So something that I think really sets them apart is once you start a job with them, you're not like forced down that career path. So like every like 6 months or something, you have like a meeting with someone, and you like discuss like what like the direction you want to take your career. You're allowed to like switch teams, so you can keep trying out new different things and basically keep growing in different directions, which I don't think you can get in a lot of other companies. It's also quite a big company as well. So there's like loads of different projects that are available. You can work in lots of different countries, which I thought was pretty nice. And yeah.
Okay. So you then decided to join a society that was more in your realm, the University Mathematics Society. What was it like being the treasurer of the University of Mathematics Society?
Yeah. So in Bristol, when you everyone joins the society in first year, so they basically just run social events and just like talks and stuff. So it was nice being on the committee as treasurer so that you got some influence over what was happening. So you could decide like, or you got a say into where these socials are going to take place. We had like a summer and winter ball, and you got a say in planning that because it's like a subject society. There's literally hundreds of students in it. So that also means that because there's loads of students, there's a lot of money in the society, so you can get to put on really big events, which is quite nice, rather than smaller societies where they only have like 50, 60 people.
What skills would you say would be needed to be the treasurer?
Yeah, I think you need to be quite unbiased. It is quite easy to, especially as the treasurer, because you get to say how the money gets spent exactly. You do need to be quite unbiased. You can't just push it into things that you specifically want to do. You need to listen to what the society wants to do, what the rest of the committee wants to do. I think you also need quite good attention to detail. The way that all these societies work is that the student union has like a big bank account, and every society in the uni puts their money in that same bank account, but you need to keep track of how much specifically you have. So the SU will have a figure, but you need to make sure that figure's right. And if it's wrong, tell them actually we're missing this much. So I just need to just be aware and like when you're paying for stuff, make sure that stuff gets paid on time and the right amount of money goes, because the student union obviously tries as hard as they can, but if it's all because it's all just in one bank account, it is quite difficult to stay on top of it for them. So it's quite important that you do it because mistakes do from time to time.
Okay. What was life like as an ambassador for Wiser Academy?
Yeah, so that was just I mean, you know about Wiser. They're just a company that help. I was basically acting as an ambassador for different companies and brands and helping them recruit students for their internships, placements, and graduate schemes. It was quite useful because it got me an intro to a lot of different companies. I got to learn about lots of different industries that I wouldn't have normally looked at. It was also quite. They also did run like some training sessions on other holistic stuff, like presenting your personal brand, etc. I thought that was quite good at developing myself. It was quite useful for mates. Like I'll try to help them with their jobs as well. And I think I'm in a slightly better position than before.
Okay. And what is it like being a 180 degrees consulting in Bristol?
Yeah, so that was probably the my favorite society at uni. So 180 Degrees Consulting is actually a global network of university societies. They're actually the largest charity and like non-profit consultancy in the world, just in terms of numbers, because all these universities across the world have their own societies. So they just basically help local charities who can't afford to pay like a big consulting company loads of money with some like pro bono work. And it's quite useful because you're working with real charities, so it's like real projects. You get to see the impact. You know how you're helping people, and you also get to learn like a lot of professional skills at the same time as well. And I think that was probably like one of the biggest things on my CVs in terms of when I was doing job interviews, because it was like real work that I could relay and show like the impact of what I'd done rather
And
than just in the university setting.
and I was also going to ask, do you, with that being the largest network of universities to do with society to do consulting, do you also get access to that network? So all the individuals that are interested in consulting or interested in that kind of realm and industry, do you get access to them, or is it more of just access to the training and what they provide?
It's more access to the training and what they provide. Each of the universities, like individual societies, have their own links with the industry. It's not like there's a company that has a link with the whole 180 degree network. But yeah, they obviously do have training, and I guess the brand name as well is quite important. But yeah, it's each of the individual societies that I guess really define what it is.
And you did speak about being able to be on real projects and putting that on your CV. So do you think for an individual who potentially may look into consulting, whether they know it's their career or not, it'll be something good to try as they, even if they don't like it or do like it, that experience behind it will really help shape their pathway.
Yeah, even if you don't want to go into consulting, or even if you try and don't want to go into consulting, I think it's really useful because I think it's at university is the closest experience you'll get to actually being in the world of work. And I guess it's also probably the closest experience you have to completing work that actually means something. I guess it's not just something you're doing for your degree. Like you have like real tangible results that are helping people. You can prove that you've helped people as well, which is something that not a lot of people can say.
Okay. You did speak about you chose university for more than a degree. While you're experiencing university, you realize you grew as a person. You kind of had this, you learned new things, you met new people, you tried new things. Could you tell us about that growth of from when you first walked through those university doors to who you are today, that growth while at university?
Yeah. So I'm sure most people will grow up in like, well, it's maybe the same sort of town. You're always around your same sort of mates. So you only really sort of know your world. But when you go to university, obviously you're meeting people from all across the world. You're meeting like people from different walks of life, not just from your area. So I think it really improves like your perspective on the world itself. I think it really improves your confidence because you are interacting with new people almost all the time. Obviously, with like your skills as an adult, you're living alone but you're not being thrown in the deep end as such as you moved out of your house, you're on your own. Like there's still some kind of structure to it. Yeah, and I guess when you finally moved away from home, you can sort of, where you're away from your parents, you can sort of like move away from like maybe their ideals and focus on like understanding yourself better as a person rather than what your parents want you to be, which I think is probably quite an important thing as well.
So just on that last point, it's kind of that freedom of you get to build your own beliefs. You get to build your own what you like to do. If you set your own permissions, your own bedtimes, your own going out times, your as you said, your own beliefs. So where your parents may have had a certain way of doing things, because you're now by yourself, you have to make your own way and make your own decisions
Yeah.
on how it works and how to go forward in life.
Exactly, yeah. You get to try things out and you're in a setting where if you mess up, like it's not the end of the world. So yeah, you just get to experiment and just build up your own belief system, like system of values and just, I guess, just way of doing things as well.
Just a question, and
Yeah.
you can answer this question however you'd like. This is a personal question for yourself.
Yeah.
Is university worth it?
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth it. I think for me it was really worth it because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But even then, I do think it's worth it. I don't think you're going to get. I think even if you went straight into a job, you wouldn't get as much exposure to the rest of the world as you do. You're literally meeting people from all over the world, from all different walks of life, and you're meeting completely new friends, and you get to like learn together with them, not just in terms of like academics, but in terms of just like how to approach life. And I really don't think you can get that if you're doing like an apprenticeship or you went straight into a job. But I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm sure. Yeah. No, I guess like I just need to reiterate, like you need to just go a bit crazy, honestly. Like you need to just try new things, just do stuff you wouldn't do at home. Just go a bit mental, go a bit mad. It's all part of the learning process. You are gonna make some massive mistakes. You are gonna make like some massive mistakes and stuff, but it's all worth it. It needs to be done. This is probably the only time in your life you can do it, so go through it.